This weekend's episodes of the Pro Wrestling Report are dedicated to all that were lost in the tragedy in Orlando, Florida last weekend. We all stand with Orlando.
Welcome to the kickoff of this weekend's programming from PWR, brought to you by our YouTube channels, where you can watch all of our episodes on demand for free. And while you're there, be sure to join the thousands who have already subscribed to PWR on YouTube. I'm Linda Kay.
And I'm Julie Smith.
Today on Feedback Friday, we share some of your comments from last week's shows on the Brock Lesnar, Goldberg, and TNA Impact Wrestling, along with a review of a recent live Ring of Honor event.
It's time for Feedback Friday for June 17th, 2016, here on the channels of PWR.
Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to the Pro Wrestling Report Feedback Friday. Damian Nelson sitting alongside David Hero here on Friday, June 17, 2016.
It is.
David, what'd you do for Flag Day this past week? Tuesday, I believe it was.
I celebrated.
How'd you celebrate Flag Day?
I had all different flags all over the place.
Is that right? You do anything Sunday on June 19th for Juneteenth Day?
No, that's Father's Day.
Father's Day and Juneteenth are on the same day?
And Money in the Bank Day, MITB. How amazing is that?
It should be Baby Daddy Day.
Well, it could be your day if you wanted it to be.
I'm not a father.
You never know.
I'm pretty sure.
Are you confident about that?
I'm pretty confident.
Okay, well, that's impressive.
Let's get to this week's top story. And David, last Sunday actually, we had the opportunity to see Ring of Honor Wrestling live at Milwaukee's Turner Hall Ballroom, where Colt Cabana made his return to Ring of Honor for the first time since the pay-per-view event a couple of weeks back, which saw his championship opportunity end in a no-contest matchup. So
it was Boom Boom and Jay Lethal against the Young Bucks.
Boom Boom and Jay Lethal against the Young Bucks. What did you think? We've been to many an ROH show. What did you think of the live experience in Turner Hall?
I mean, it's always an exciting show whenever Ring of Honor comes to town. I mean, their talent, their athletic ability is second to none.
Absolutely.
I mean, what those guys do, what they put their bodies through, is just absolutely freaking amazing. And every match delivered. The crowd was into every talent. They were booing, they were cheering, they were chanting. It's everything you would want and expect to see.
I think the highlight of the show for me was that four-way matchup with the endorsed Roderick Strong, Kyle O'Reilly, Michael Elgin, the Unbreakable one.
Yes.
Just amazing athleticism. And is it ACH? ACH? Talk about a comical performer. I've seen him many a time, but in this matchup with three athletes, if you will, not that he's not an athlete, he really was he had a reason for being in the matchup. He entertained during the matchup.
He was an important piece that told the story.
Yeah.
Yes.
It was a good matchup. It was a very, very good matchup. But, here's the thing, though, and big fan of Ring of Honor, love Ring of Honor. They air on our station in Milwaukee, on My24 Milwaukee, but the action was really fast all night long, David.
Very fast.
There was not one match that stood out above other matches aside from its match type, because the speed of all the matches was almost exactly the same.
The tag match that you didn't, I think you were too busy in line,
I was talking to the fans.
Getting a beverage, was very well paced.
Yeah?
Yes. And that was The Real Men. That was
The Real Men.
Matt Winchester and Silas Young were in there with Dem Boys. And
I like your Dem Boys.
Dem Boys, yeah.
Dem Boys.
And it was solid. I mean, they told a good story. They took their time. It was well paced. And it all worked in the end.
Overall, what did you think of the show from Ring of Honor Wrestling this past Sunday in Milwaukee?
It was great. I mean, if you get a chance to go to see Ring of Honor live, you have to go.
And we'll have news on another opportunity to see Ring of Honor live tomorrow night on prime time here on the channels of the Pro Wrestling Report.
You are too much. You are such a tease.
I've heard that before.
Yes.
I thought that was part of what I do here.
I thought that was Linda's job.
Let's get to some of your comments from our shows of last week. We've got quite a few of them. And first, let's go to and hear what you guys had to say about our shows last week, David Hero. Are you ready for this?
Oh, I can't wait.
All right, well.
You know what? I'll be honest. I've been very well behaved lately. There's not a whole lot you guys can criticize. Seriously, come on. You know.
I will say this before we get to the first comment. We talked last week on Primetime about Brock Lesnar and his opponent at UFC 200.
Yes.
Mark Hunt.
Yes.
A lot of people did take issue with your assessment of Mark Hunt's challenge to Brock Lesnar.
Okay.
Care to say anything to that point?
No, I mean, I'm not wrong. I'm not. Brock Lesnar's not going to come back and put himself in a spot to lose.
Many are saying out in Las Vegas that this match is not expected to go beyond 1 round. Quick, no matter who wins, is the expectation in this match.
I hope so.
Because you still hate it.
Well, I don't want to see Brock Lesnar in UFC. I really don't. It doesn't do any good for him. He's not going to be a full-time guy there.
He's not a full-time guy in WWE.
But you can protect him.
Folks, we've been talking about the perils of TNA Wrestling recently, about praising their in-ring product. We, of course, have more on this tomorrow on Primetime with their challenges this past week. But YouTube user Brian Bryant had this question for us, and it's an interesting one, David, regarding TNA Wrestling. If you, Damian, and you, David, came up with $100 million to buy TNA, what are the 3 things you would do immediately to bring positive change to the company in order to bring it back to their golden years, in a sense? Good question from Brian.
$100 million.
He thinks it would take that much.
You could buy it for less than 2.
If it were for sale. I think the theory is, think about this $100 million. That's your budget, if you will. So you're going to acquire the company and then spend that money to do whatever it is, those top 3 things I think he said that you would do.
I clean out the front office.
You have to.
Immediately.
In a takeover situation.
Immediately. And that's no disrespect to anyone that's been there any amount of time, because I'm sure there are some people there that have worked extremely hard and they have brought tremendous assets and benefits to the company, but it hasn't worked.
Yep. So that's number 1.
That's number 1. Number 2, I get one hell of an advertising budget.
You'd market it?
Yeah.
Huh.
I mean, yeah. And
how would you do so? What would be your overall strategy? Just throw it out there, or would it be more of a targeted approach?
No, you have to go and sign a huge name, and you build it around that person. You know, you have to, because right now the brand is like a bad piece of fruit. It's bruised and surrounded by flies.
Even though the fruit may taste good if you eat it.
I wouldn't touch that fruit. There's flies on it.
This would be assuming that there is a top draft talent pick out there.
Yeah, well...
What would be your 3rd thing, David?
Well, let's see. I cleaned house.
In the front office.
Yeah.
Your marketing.
Marketing. And
you have a star.
And yeah, that's the 3. That's what you need. And then you got to start touring.
My 3 things, David Hero. Number 1, change the name. Number 2, change the name. Number 3, change the name.
Well, that's a given. When you market it, you're gonna have to rebrand it. What would you call it?
No idea. I'd let a market research firm assist me in determining what resonates most with the potential audience. That's what I would do.
Endorsed Championship Wrestling.
Interesting. Well, thanks for those comments, folks. We're going to take a commercial break. When we come back, we've got more discussion, more comments. Yeah, we're moving right along
It's
here.
not going to be that same commercial looped, is it?
That was Tuesday. No.
Okay.
Well, I mean, that depends on what the network does.
People are sick of seeing it.
We'll be back in just a moment.
Coming up this weekend on Fight TV. Tonight, it's live pro wrestling action from Shine at 9 p.m. Eastern, featuring champion Taylor Made defending her title against Kelly Skater. Tomorrow night, it's live MMA action as FCC 16 takes to the airwaves live from the UK with Charlie Lee taking on Mick Bowman at 3 p.m. Eastern. Remember, you can catch Feedback Friday and Primetime TV each week on Fight TV. And you can download the app free right now on iTunes and the Google Play Store.
Wow, thank you. Welcome back. It appears as if, I don't know if you got this memo, but I've promoted senior intern Cal. He has been brought up. He's been called up, if you will. He is an on-air talent now here on Feedback Friday.
Well, that's convenient since he's out of school for the summer.
I've worked out a deal. His schools, the teachers are in his trailer.
Really? So he'll be...
We're going to run him through for a full year, none of this two-semester thing, and get him done quicker and graduate early so that his role here can
So
continue.
then he can start making some bigger money.
Well, we worked out a deal. Just don't
First of all, I'm his agent.
No, you're not.
Who is?
Jack Koshik.
JFK?
What does the F stand for?
Freaking.
What else? Jack signed on his behalf. Is he not his agent?
No,
He said.
I can only...
He showed me a contract he signed recently, a couple of weeks ago.
I can only imagine how bad this is going to be.
He did a great job.
Okay. Great.
Well, it is great, folks, and we're going to make PWR great again. Let's go to some more comments that you guys had on our broadcast recently, ladies and gentlemen. And we talked recently about Goldberg having one or more matches in WWE after he was recently announced as a character in the WWE 2K17 video game. Now, this guy, David, did not seem to want to see Brock Lesnar take on Goldberg again, while I think that would be a bit of a money match. And YouTube user Trey Williams said this, and I quote, referring to me, you asked David who should Goldberg face, and although I would like to see Lesnar versus Goldberg Part 2, I would love to see him face someone he hasn't fought. So how about Goldberg versus The Undertaker at next year's WrestleMania?
I think the shine of The Undertaker at Mania is gone since the streak is over.
Gone.
Yeah.
Gone.
Gone.
Last two Manias didn't count.
It doesn't mean anything anymore.
Shane McMahon, Bray Wyatt didn't
It
count.
doesn't mean anything anymore.
Really?
Nothing.
You don't believe that the Undertaker match at WrestleMania, streak or no streak, is still an institution as part of the event?
It's the streak is what was the event. The streak was the biggest match on the show. Hands down. It was.
Okay.
It was.
Okay.
People paid to see the streak.
Okay.
Now he already has the one next to the name.
So let's say Undertaker was still a viable commodity at WrestleMania,
Sure.
which I think he is.
I think him and Goldberg could be very interesting.
Has that match happened? I don't know if it did in the year Goldberg was there before.
I don't think so.
It's another money match. It's a marquee match. It's a poster match.
But you need to re-educate the entire audience about Bill Goldberg.
Now let me ask you this. You say that, but there was no education with AJ Styles, who arguably a large majority of WWE's audience didn't know who he was, and he got a huge pop when he came in.
Agreed.
At Royal Rumble.
Agreed. But at the same time, AJ has been consistently performing for the last 15 years.
They didn't, valid point, but they didn't re-educate us on Sting either. And I don't disagree that they should, but they
course they
didn't.
did.
No, he popped up at the Survivor Series.
No, but he was also in the video game in the beginning, and they teased a
wasn't
lot
a
of stuff.
re-education.
Yes, it was. And they had stuff on the network about him. Yeah.
I'm not sure between the game announcement and Survivor Series they did much of that.
Oh, okay. Well, we'll see.
You underestimate the audience. They have the network now, so they can go back and... every wrestling fan out there knows who Goldberg is.
I deal more with this audience than you do.
You're saying wrestling fans don't know who Goldberg is?
There's a lot of them that do not understand who he is.
There's a difference. Do they need to understand who he is or know who he is? They know he was a powerhouse as a former WCW champion.
Right, but they don't... But... No. There's a lot of the audience that doesn't know who Bill Goldberg is.
Larger or smaller portion of the audience that didn't know who Sting was?
It will be a larger audience.
Larger or smaller portion of the audience that didn't know who Warrior was?
Similar. You're forgetting that audience is the 9 to 18-year-olds.
I'm not forgetting. I'm well aware, but I think they've exposed themselves. A lot of fans. AJ Styles' debut in WWE, yes, you're right, he was around for 15 years, but he was in relative obscurity compared to the WWE universe. When he came in and got so well received by the audience overall, not just the smart fans, quote unquote.
It was in Orlando.
In Orlando, correct, but even beyond that, he was well received. Now, people follow cheers, and if somebody gets cheered like that, they think they should as well, so I get it. But it showed me that a lot more fans out there are much more aware of past wrestling stars and wrestling stars outside of WWE than I think we've given them credit for.
Okay, well, we'll find out when it happens.
On the same subject, YouTube user Nick BD said, and I quote, "Not often I disagree with David, but I do on Brock. This is a win-win for WWE. UFC 200 will be huge, and the cross promotion they will get will be big. I'm sure most will disagree with me on this, but I feel Brock Lesnar over the past year has lost a bit of his aura. If he wins, he gets that back. If he loses, the WWE could easily spin that into a storyline where he is losing and getting old, and he goes on a massive rampage on the talent. Win-win for WWE.
Not at all, because now he lost to a real fighter, and then he goes on a rampage and beats up all the fake fighters. You don't understand. That's how this is going to get played out. If Brock Lesnar loses at UFC 200, he's a fake fighter. He needs to win to be a legitimate fighter.
Is there a way to make sure Brock Lesnar wins
at
UFC 200?
Is. Of course there is. You walk Mark Hunt in the back room and say, listen.
Which story is better for UFC? A Lesnar win or a Lesnar loss?
Lesnar loss.
Which story is better for WWE? A Lesnar win or a Lesnar loss?
A Lesnar win. You have UFC is cheering against Brock Lesnar. WWE is cheering. Oh,
UFC, the company?
Yes. Because now the beast is dead. Now he's no longer.
Dead and buried.
Yeah. Now he's no longer viable.
What about the UFC audience? Which will be huge for this card no matter what happens.
They'll be torn 50-50. Because he's a fake fighter, as far as they're concerned. And I'm not saying.
Now, but wasn't. No, listen, and was before.
And I'm not saying anything that hasn't been said by UFC people. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? You know, so it's going to be.
But he didn't. Are you saying he gained no credibility, and if he did gain it, he lost it when he went back to WWE? Did Brock Lesnar?
Yes.
Really?
Yeah. Because he got his ass handed to him in his last two fights.
You're not supposed to remember that.
Well, I do. I watched them. I paid $60 each to watch those things.
You know, folks, earlier this week on my Real Talk podcast, I talked about WWE Raw being too long in its current 3-hour format, and YouTube user Paulo Rogue responded saying, and I quote, "I agree 100%. 3 hours is way too long. Once the John Cena and AJ Styles segment ended after the 2-hour mark this past week, I switched back to the NBA game and did not think of switching back to Raw. The build for the tag team title match, the Ambrose Asylum with the Shield, a good match with Zayn and Cesaro, and the AJ Cena contract signing, I felt invested and satisfied enough to watch Money in the Bank this Sunday, even if I skipped the 3rd hour." So, David, I talked about this, as I said, on Real Talk. We've talked about it here and there, but let's hear your definitive statement. Is Raw too long at 3 hours?
It is way too long at 3 hours. 2 hours is perfect.
Yeah.
That worked for so many years. You got everyone, and keep in mind, back when it was 2 hours, you had far more talent on the Attitude Era.
That is so true.
And all those guys got enough TV time.
Yeah. Is there a parallel to be drawn between Raw being 3 hours and Nitro being 3 hours when Nitro expanded to a 3rd hour as well? Yeah. What parallel would that be?
That the business is slowly dying.
Dying or being overexposed?
Overexposed.
There's a lot of wrestling on.
Especially now when you have SmackDown the next night, that's 2 hours. Now you got 5 hours in 2 nights. That's 1/8 of your work week. Think about that.
Okay.
Am I wrong? Oh, it's 1/8.
Thank you for those comments, folks. Keep them coming. And be sure to subscribe to us right here using that gimmick over there to never miss an episode of the Pro Wrestling Report. And let's find out what the girls have, David Hero, with a preview of tomorrow's primetime television.
Thanks to the hundreds of you who commented on last week's shows, and you too can be a part of Feedback Friday by commenting on our videos right here on YouTube.
Also, be sure to interact with PWR on our social media channels.
Follow at PWR Show on Twitter and on Facebook at facebook.com/PWR Show.
We will see you tomorrow night at 10 o'clock p.m. on Primetime TV with Be the Booker for a stacked WWE Money in the Bank.
All that and all the hot news from WWE, TNA, ROH, and NXT, along with DWHS and more on My24 Milwaukee, YouTube, Fight TV, and PWRShow.com.